effectiveness as a development partner, placing people at the center of our work and leveraging partnerships and cooperation to transform policy imperatives into action. With an eye on the rapidly changing global context, SETI is innovating to constructively address the emerging challenges and opportunities for the region. As part of our competitiveness program, SETI is designing precise tools to assess assets and capabilities in the productive sector to determine paths towards higher value goods and services. As our flagship program for partnerships, the Americas Competitiveness Exchange on Innovation and Entrepreneurship, the OAS, will continue to leverage good practices and the power of networks to increase trade and investment in the region.
For us, the role of the OAS is very important, connecting countries, connecting governments and private sector, and letting us know what other countries are doing it and how we can replicate that in our countries to enhance development.
For me, who has come here to look at how can we develop our own ecosystem, our own innovation hubs, our own accelerators, I think seeing this, touching, feeling, seeing the transformation, seeing how quickly you've made it happen, is a testament to what is possible. So I believe all of us leave here stronger than ever.
The Working Group of Experts on Subnational Competitiveness, the GTEX, is our gateway program to promote local economic competitiveness policies alongside municipal and state-level governments, together with the private sector and academia.
Este tipo de reuniones te sirven para darte cuenta de todo lo que se está viviendo en América Latina sobre los temas de competitividad. Y hoy justamente en este sector estamos viendo sobre todo los temas de innovación tecnológica. Los que si hablamos de competitividad tenemos que hablar de tecnología. Y me está ayudando mucho para abrir el panorama de ver lo que están haciendo otras ciudades y lo que podemos llegar a aplicar también nosotros en México.
The Hub on the Transfer and Commercialization of Technology is connecting and strengthening national innovation ecosystems in the region. Each edition of the Hub trains budding technology entrepreneurs from the region's public and private sectors to take promising products and services from idea to market.
Porque es importante que estemos juntos en esto, porque la región tiene que estar unida y me parece que hay mucho conocimiento en la región que todavía no está explotado comercialmente como podría ser, y esta es la mejor manera de hacerlo.
Tenemos la proyección de cada año generar y compartir nuevas experiencias entre aquellos que contribuyen a la innovación. Queremos cambiar el cómo lo hemos estado haciendo en Latinoamérica. Queremos generar la unión de los países, queremos colaborar.
Our virtual platform on technology foresight, Prospecta Americas, will support OAS member states in identifying and mapping future trends and technological development of critical importance for the Americas.
Este esfuerzo, el cual viene siendo apoyado por la Organización de los Estados Americanos, nos permitirá tener una gran información para poder mapear estas iniciativas de innovación y poder que ellas contribuyan al crecimiento económico, a la competitividad y al bienestar de nuestras naciones.
Como bien sabemos, nos encontramos ya en la cuarta revolución industrial, la que está cambiando rápidamente la forma en que se hace negocios, se produce, se consume y se genera bienestar y entretenimiento en el mundo. Es la mayor amenaza, tal vez la mejor oportunidad que tenemos en nuestras naciones.
The Inter-American Teacher Education Network, the I-10, is working to improve the quality of teachers with an emphasis on science, technology, engineering, and mathematics education. In 2019, the I-10 launched the first STEM Teacher Fellowship of the Americas. The Energy and Climate Partnership of the Americas, ECPA, is working with governments in the Caribbean to advance electric mobility and clean transport as the sub-region pursues energy independence. Under our Integrated Water Resources Management Program, SETI is responding to the demand of member states for platforms and applications that enable data-driven policies. In the Central American region, for example, we're expanding the scope of Costa Rica's Plataforma Interactiva de Aplicación del Clima Tropical. This tool captures and disseminates real-time climate and water data, promoting resilient agriculture. The Inter-American Committee on Ports is building human and institutional capacity through public-private partnerships to address port modernization, logistics, and security. CooperaNet, SETI's multi-stakeholder platform for cooperation and partnerships, is being relaunched in 2019, responding to member states' call for a more robust hub for cooperation. In a region where 8 out of 10 consumers begin or end their shopping process online, SETI has entered into a partnership with the private sector.
Es una herramienta que sin duda acerca a las MIPYMES hacia la demanda que hoy está migrando a Internet, y con eso pretendemos mejorar las ventas y el posicionamiento de las empresas pequeñas.
As we look to the future, the Executive Secretariat for Integral Development will continue to leverage cooperation and partnerships to expand our reach, proving that together we are much more than the sum of our 34 member states.
Me and my kids have been there for over an year right now. And children are friends. It doesn't matter where they come from.
Nosotros estamos en una zona netamente selvática. La línea de adyacencia va desde el norte hasta el sur, va desde Modesto Méndez hasta Aguas Turbias, tanto en el norte como en el sur. Esta línea tiene 215 kilómetros de extensión.
De allí vino él, se buscó creo con los de la OEA y de allí vino el proyecto para acá, para Judá. Y fue que lo dieron el terreno y lo dieron todo que era mano de obra y el material para hacer las casas que están ahorita. Y por ese motivo estamos aquí viviendo todavía.
fomento de la confianza, mientras se aguarda el resultado del reclamo que está atendiendo la Corte Internacional de Justicia por la disputa marítima, territorial e insular. Nuestra oficina en la zona de adyacencia realiza verificaciones a solicitud de ambos gobiernos, facilita reuniones y patrullajes conjuntos entre las Fuerzas Armadas y promueve una cultura de paz y cooperación entre las comunidades locales.
Children will be children and they have harmony. They don't see each other as a different country, but they see each other that they're growing together.
Perdón, Presidenta, cuando usted disponga podemos pasar a confirmar el quórum.
Adelante, señor secretario.
Buenas tardes, señora Presidenta. Buenas tardes a todos. Vamos a finalizar ahora el periodo de sesión de pruebas de audio y de sonido. Tenemos a Surinam, Presidenta, pidiendo la palabra para pruebas y lo hacemos rápidamente.
Ok, embajador. Játiva, buenas tardes. Muy bien.
Good afternoon.
Ambassador, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Chair. Joining again.
Thank you very much. Embajador Abdala, ya tenemos ahí también.
Perfecto. Bueno, Presidenta, con su permiso, vamos a finalizar la sesión de pruebas de audio y de video y podemos confirmar que ya, habiendo hecho las pruebas, tenemos conectado en este momento Bahamas, Brasil, Canadá, Chile, Costa Rica, Dominica, Ecuador, El Salvador, Estados Unidos, Grenada, Guyana, Honduras, Jamaica, México, Nicaragua, Panamá, Paraguay, Perú, República Dominicana, San Vicente y las Grenadinas, Santa Lucía, Surinam, Trinidad y Tobago, Uruguay y Venezuela. Confirmamos quórum, Presidenta. Gracias.
Muchísimas gracias, señor secretario general adjunto. Entonces, en este estadio retomamos la sesión del Consejo Permanente después del cuarto intermedio. Vamos a pasar a considerar el punto 3 de erupciones volcánicas en San Vicente y las Granadinas. El siguiente punto se refiere a las erupciones volcánicas en San Vicente y las Granadinas, el cual ha sido incluido en el orden del día a solicitud de la Misión Permanente de San Vicente y las Granadinas, mediante nota CPINF 892.
21. I would now like to offer the floor to Ambassador Luen Galen Gilchrist, Permanent Representative of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Ambassador Gilchrist, you have the floor. Go ahead, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Assistant Secretary General, permanent representatives, alternate staff of the OAS General Secretariat, alternate representatives. Chair, the Permanent Mission of St. Vincent and the Grenadines congratulates you on your accession to the chair of the Permanent Council and wishes you a successful tenure as you seek to fulfill the objectives stated. We express our gratitude to former Chair, Her Excellency Maria Roquebel de Leon, for her astute leadership of the Permanent Council during the first trimester of this year. The Permanent Mission of St. Vincent and the Grenadines thanks you, Chair, for your message of solidarity to our nation and for including this topic on the order of business for this meeting of the Permanent Council. The permanent mission informs of the current situation in St. Vincent and the Grenadines with respect to the ongoing explosive eruptions at La Soufrière, the volcano, and invites you to view a short video. Before the video is played, please, I'd just like to update that there was an explosive eruption at 11 p.m. last night, and earlier today at 11, while we were yet in the first session of this meeting, there was another explosive eruption. Please note that the related documents are available on the Kudo platform in the 4 languages for your information. The video, please. Thank you.
Hurry up if you're coming. This is not happening right now. Hurry up if you're coming. As you can. Yo, look at this.
Big snow, yes. Car got stuck here. Trying to get the car out. There's my boy Gap here. Look at this. It's like snow.
Thank you for viewing that video, which showed some of the activities related to the evacuation and the ashfall. Now I'm going to give you an overview of the situation. May we have the first and then the second slide, please? Thank you. Chair. Slide 3, please. The volcano is located in the north of the island and is its highest mountain peak, sitting at over 4,000 feet. Next, on December 29, 2020, there was an increase in the activity at the volcano. It entered an effusive state of eruption and saw the emergence of a new dome. Next, please. The monitoring of volcanic activity is being supported by the Seismic Research Center at the University of the West Indies, St. Augustine campus in Trinidad and Tobago. Next, the current volcanic eruptions followed swarms of volcano tectonic earthquakes which began on March 23, 2021. Next. The further increased activity at the volcano on April 8 led to the declaration of a level 4 disaster, and an evacuation order was issued for the residents in the most hazard-prone areas of the country. Next. Here is an overview of the COVID-19 situation as at April 9th, because you will understand that we are dealing with not just one catastrophe at this time, but there are multiple matters for the government to manage. Next, please. On Friday, April 9, 2021, the volcano moved from the effusive state in which it had been and entered the current explosive state. The country has suffered repeated explosive eruptions. Next. Scientists indicate that there are pyroclastic flows on the eastern and western sectors of the country and predict that the explosive eruptions, which emit plumes of ash into the air, are likely to continue for days or weeks. They noted on April 11th, after a series of explosive eruptions which are placing the country's water and electricity supply at risk, that, I quote, "The volcano continues to erupt explosively with the production of copious amounts of ash. Explosions and the accompanying ashfall of similar or larger magnitude are likely to continue to occur over the next few days." End of quote. The pyroclastic flows are now approaching the coastline. Next, please. Prime Minister, the Honorable Ralph Gonsalves, has a hands-on approach in this disaster and is seen here visiting the affected areas. Next, please. To date, 85 shelters have been activated with 3,782 occupants. More than 2,000 displaced people are residing temporarily with loved ones in the safer zones. The explosive eruptions have caused pyroclastic density currents and have destroyed infrastructure, vegetation, and crops. Livestock is also at risk. The resulting loss of livelihoods in the rural communities will be significant. The assessment of the value of the loss will be conducted as soon as it is physically safe to do so. Next, please. Next. Next. Thank you. The ash walls have covered a significant area of the country, increasing the risk of respiratory and other illnesses. Next. The plumes of ash emitted from the volcano reached a height of 20,000 feet, covering not only parts of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, but also of Barbados in the east, as you can see, and St. Lucia at the north. Next, please. With light falls also being seen in Grenada at the south of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Next, please. The ashfall has adversely affected the water supply, has resulted in some interruptions to the electricity, next, and has destroyed some infrastructure. Next, please. And next. Thank you. The government and the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines express sincere gratitude to the government and people of the CARICOM region for their ready and unstinting solidarity, assistance, and support at this time of crisis. They have provided logistical, financial, social, and material assistance and have pledged to continue to do this. It is projected that several hundreds of our nationals will be temporarily relocated in an organized and orderly manner to neighboring Caribbean islands, which are providing that assistance generously and in solidarity with the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. The permanent mission emphasizes here that the protocols for the safe and orderly movement of nationals are in place in collaboration with the governments of the countries of destination. These include the requisite health protocols for minimizing the spread of the coronavirus. All plans are underpinned by the principles for the protection of our nationals' dignity and human rights at this time of disaster. Hemispheric and international assistance is also being provided, and for this, the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines expresses sincere gratitude. The previous volcanic eruption period extended from Friday, April 13th, 1979 to August of the same year. The country, therefore, must be prepared to survive the current situation and to address all of the matters relating to the protection of its human, environmental, and physical resources. Next, please. In anticipation of your solidarity at this time of need, the Permanent Mission of St. Vincent and the Grenadines expresses its gratitude to our regional, hemispheric, and international partners for their tangible assistance to our country as we combat the devastating effects of the explosive volcanic eruptions. Next, please. We have placed there for you a list of needs which we will soon update. And ladies and gentlemen, I thank you, Chair, I thank you very much for giving us this audience today. Thank you.
No, Ambassador, thank you. Thank you for sharing this information with us. And at once, we would like to reiterate our solidarity with the people and government of your country and the will of all member states to cooperate. Having said that, I would like to offer the floor to those delegations who are proposing the draft resolution, solidarity with and support for the people and government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, presented originally by the Permanent Mission of Trinidad and Tobago in its capacity as coordinator of the regional CARICOM group, and on behalf of the sponsoring and co-sponsoring delegations of Antigua and Barbuda, Bahamas, Barbados, Belize, Costa Rica, Dominica, Grenada, El Salvador, Guatemala, Guyana, Haiti, Honduras, Jamaica, Nicaragua, Panama, the Dominican Republic, St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, St. Lucia, and Suriname, through document CP 5692/21, Rev 4, which was distributed this morning and which is available in the document section here on Kudo. At this time, I give the floor to Ambassador Anthony Philip Spencer, Permanent Representative of Trinidad and Tobago. Ambassador, please go ahead.
Segundo país que mencioné.
Good afternoon and thank you, Chair. This being your maiden meeting as the Chair of our Permanent Council. For the third consecutive month, member states of the Caribbean Community, CARICOM, have sought to galvanize this hemispheric multilateral platform to advocate for attention to and action on matters of significant urgency and importance for the people of the Americas. Today, at the first meeting of your term as the Chair of this Permanent Council, Excellency, CARICOM congratulates you. We commit our support to you, and we welcome this opportune occasion to advance an urgent call for solidarity with and support for the people and government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Today, we seek approval for the draft resolution Solidarity with and support for the people and government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Chair, Excellencies, as we have just heard from the distinguished permanent representative of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Her Excellency Ambassador Luan Gilchrist, our small multiple island sister OAS member state is now experiencing the ongoing intensification of destructive and disastrous seismic and pyroclastic activity from La Soufrière volcano, which last occurred in 1979, 42 years ago. I'm certain that you are becoming increasingly aware of the extensive impact of this declared disaster in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. For a small state with the full spectrum of vulnerabilities associated with its characteristic open and volatile geostrategic reality, the timing of this disaster could not be worse. These volcanic eruptions, together with the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic and inequitable access to vaccines, have further devastated this tourism and agriculture-based economy, all on the eve of the annual hurricane season, with its persistent reminder of the impending risks of climate change. Further, Excellencies, information is now emerging about the extent to which the volcanic activity in St. Vincent and the Grenadines is also disrupting life in the neighboring small states of Barbados, Grenada, and St. Lucia, with the same mix of geostrategic small state vulnerabilities and challenges. Excellencies, I am pleased to reiterate the observation made by Ambassador Gilchrist that this disaster in St. Vincent and the Grenadines has been met with another display of the typical spirit of community and cooperation and gallantry and generosity that is indispensable for life in the small states of the Caribbean. It is these same disrupted countries, together with the other neighboring small states of Antigua and Barbuda, Dominica, and St. Kitts and Nevis, that have still selflessly and sacrificially stepped forward to offer emergency accommodation to those persons from St. Vincent and the Grenadines who will have no alternative but to relocate and seek refuge beyond the jurisdiction of their homeland. Further, the Executive Director of the Caribbean Public Health Agency, CARPHA, has now confirmed the incidence of respiratory problems associated with this volcanic activity in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Barbados, and Grenada. It is in this context of compounded concern, Chair, that this draft resolution has been presented today for the consideration of the Permanent Council. Chair, I'm exceptionally pleased to advise the Permanent Council that this draft resolution has also benefited from broad consultation and input from the delegations of the SICA Regional Group, in particular from Guatemala, from the coordinator of the Aladi Group, and from the delegation of Canada, and also from the OAS General Secretariat. Further, all 7 member states of the SICA Regional Group are now co-sponsors of this draft resolution in a compelling expression of collective solidarity among small states here at this Permanent Council. Madam Chair, the support of all delegations is therefore requested to enable our adoption of this timely draft resolution today by consensus. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Ambassador Philip Spencer. Ambassador Solano from Costa Rica is requesting the floor as a proposing delegation. Ambassador Solano, please go ahead, and Ambassador Zelaya, you will be after that. Thank you very much, Chair. On behalf of the Regional Group of Central America and the Dominican Republic, SICA, we thank Ambassador Philip Spencer from the Permanent Mission of Trinidad and Tobago in its capacity as Regional Coordinator of CARICOM for the draft resolution CP/Doc 5692/21 Rev 4. We request that it be adopted by acclamation with the co-sponsorship of all of the members of our regional group. Thank you. Thank you, Ambassador. At this point, I would ask the delegations if we could adopt this draft resolution by acclamation. I give you the floor. There being no request for the floor on this matter, the chair declares this draft resolution adopted by acclamation. We adopt by acclamation the draft resolution contained in document, let me pull it up, CP in 5692/21 Rev 1, volcanic eruptions in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Adopted. Since I don't have my mallet, I'll knock on the table with my hand. I now give the floor to the delegation of Peru, Ambassador de Sela, please.
¿No hay imagen?
No lo veo.
We do hear you, Ambassador. We don't see you, but we do hear you. Thank you very much, Madam Chairman. As coordinator of the Aladi Group, members of the Permanent Council, we have to respect our solidarity for these horrific events that we've just seen in the video offered by our colleague ambassador from St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Ambassador Sela, I wonder if you're covering the screen. Ambassador, we can hear you, but we can't see you. Do you have something else open, Zoom or something like that? No, says the ambassador. Can you ask for the floor again, please? Go back to your browser.
Aló.
Ahora sí, mejor.
Very well. That's better. I apologize. I had some technical hiccups. But let me begin once again. I was just speaking on behalf of the Aladi countries as coordinator. First and foremost, we'd like to express our solidarity with St. Vincent and the Grenadines for the horrific events that they're going through, as we saw in the video. We saw in the video that you were kind enough to share with us that you're going through quite a situation that's leading to loss of life and the need for people to take refuge outside of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. This involves a substantial number of people, and of course, naturally, this leads to widespread solidarity from us, or with us. We have seen the solidarity of the neighboring countries of SVG to cooperate and to receive those people who have had the need to seek refuge. We have seen in the video a substantial loss of life, an affront to health, security, protection for people who have been highly impacted because of this act of Mother Nature. In addition to the risks that we already deal with the pandemic, there is risks for public health for the inhabitants of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Thus, in this context, we should like to thank the CARICOM countries for having taken the initiative to put this before us for our consideration. I'm talking about the draft resolution, which the Permanent Council has considered as sponsored by Costa Rica, and where we have seen support and solidarity for St. Vincent and the Grenadines. We would like to urge members and observers to step up their efforts to support all who are in this situation. The head of the Secretary General's office is participating with us, and we would like to draw attention to the request made that was adopted by the Secretary General and to adopt the measures in this resolution by financial institutions, development institutions, international institutions, regional institutions, and the White Hats for St. Vincent and the Grenadines. We are sure that they will take on this task and do what is necessary. With that, Madam Chairman, I'd like to reiterate on behalf of the countries who are part of ALADI our solidarity, our will to support, and our condolences for all the loss of life that has affected the inhabitants of this very dear country. Thank you very much, Madam Chairman. Thank you very much, Ambassador Ceylon. The Bahamas is recognized. Bahamas has the floor.
Ambassador Coley, could you please request the floor again? Creo que tenemos problemas en alguna conexión de...
Looks like we have some connectivity problems, says the technician. Can we get some technical help along the way?
Vamos a poner un técnico a llamar a la presidenta Fernando.
Ok. Ya tenemos a la embajadora Ruiz nuevamente.
I don't know what happened. I didn't touch anything and I disappeared. Yes, there's a network problem, Madam Chairman. A lot of people fell off the speaker's request list. Ambassador Colley has the floor.
Very much. Colleagues, I do apologize. I don't know what went on. I tried to request the floor. I think I requested too many times and I got disconnected. Madam Chair, I thank you for offering me the floor. Please permit me at the outset to offer congratulations to you on behalf of the delegations of the Bahamas on your assumption of the chair of the Permanent Council and to assure you of my delegation's support during your tenure. As with Ambassador Rookebert of Panama, under your stewardship, we know that we are in good hands. Madam Chair, the Bahamas observe that just a few minutes ago, this Permanent Council passed a resolution unanimously on the situation in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. My delegation fully associates itself with the statement delivered by the permanent representative for Trinidad and Tobago in that delegation's capacity as chair of the CARICOM community, and would like to offer additional remarks, brief remarks, in its own national capacity. The government and people of the Bahamas express solidarity with the support for the government and people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines in the wake of the eruptions at La Soufriere volcano, and for our sister countries Barbados, Grenada, and St. Lucia, also experiencing negative impacts of that volcanic activity. Madam Chair, delegations were recalled and on 1 September 2019, Hurricane Dorian, an unprecedented destructive force of wind, rain, and sea surge, ripped into the islands of the northern Bahamas, and what the Prime Minister of the Bahamas, the Most Honorable Hubert Minnis, described as a generational tragedy for our country. Like Hurricane Dorian in my country, the eruptions of the La Soufriere volcano in St. Vincent and the Grenadines will undoubtedly have long-lasting effects on the infrastructure and environment of St. Vincent and the Grenadines and on the livelihood of the people of that great chain of islands. Secretary General Luis Almagro, in his visit to the Bahamas in 2019, noted that enhanced response to these natural disasters requires the effort of the entire international community, not just those most vulnerable and affected. It is in this spirit of camaraderie that the Prime Minister, the Right Honorable Dr. Hubert Minnis, and his cabinet are readying the government's resources to deploy monetary assistance to the government and people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. The impact of such natural disasters like the eruption at La Soufriere are further exacerbated by the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. It is a situation that small island development states know all too well, often operating in a recurrent recovery mode, cycling from one crisis to the next year after year. It is in this vein that the Bahamas is pleased to support the resolution as a co-sponsor, solidarity with and support for the people and government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Madam Chair, the work of the OAS towards strengthening its facilitative role in natural disaster preparedness and response in the Americas must continue unabated. This organization of one of the few global institutions where there's broad accessibility to technical assistance and capacity building It is therefore uniquely equipped to advocate for member states in the global arena and mobilize necessary resources as needed. We look forward to the organization's continued work in this regard for the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Barbados, Grenada, and St. Lucia through the Inter-American Committee on Natural Disaster Reduction and beyond. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Colley. The United States has the floor. The United States is recognized, Mr. Frieden.
I would first like to extend our deepest and most heartfelt sympathies to the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines as they respond to this terrible disaster. I'm also pleased to be able to say that the United States, through its Agency for International Development, is providing an initial emergency funding of approximately $140,000 for immediate humanitarian assistance and evacuation support to help people in St. Vincent and the Grenadines who are affected by these destructive eruptions. Our Department of Defense, via the U.S. Southern Command, is also facilitating the donation of personal protective equipment and shelter and other supplies to the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines to help those people impacted by the eruption. As this crisis continues, the United States will continue to provide technical support to local authorities and partners to respond to humanitarian needs. USAID disaster experts are on the ground in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, working closely with local and regional disaster response authorities and organizations, including the St. Vincent and the Grenadines Red Cross and the National Emergency Management Organization. The USAID USGS Volcano Disaster Assistance Program is also continuing to support the University of the West Indies Seismic Research Center to monitor the volcano, which may continue erupting for an unknown period. We stand in solidarity with the government and the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines and thank the CARICOM delegations for introducing this important resolution. People of St. Vincent and Grenadines, our thoughts and prayers are with you today. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Canada has the floor. Please go ahead. Canada is recognized.
Chair, Canada's been closely watching the volcanic activity of La Soufrière in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and we are deeply concerned about the devastating impact of this ongoing eruption on the island of St. Vincent itself, but also on neighboring island states. Yesterday, our Minister of Foreign Affairs, the Honorable Marc Garneau, called Prime Minister Gonzalez to express Canada's solidarity with the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. We wish to assure you that Canada stands with the St. Vincent and Grenadines and the Caribbean community in this time of crisis. We've been impressed by the response of the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines and applaud the swift support of its CARICOM neighbors. For our part, Canada stands ready to respond to identified needs, including through established humanitarian partners such as the UN, the International Red Cross, and the Red Crescent Movement, and other non-governmental organizations. We are pleased to be a longtime supporter of the Caribbean Disaster Emergency Management Agency and to have provided $8.2 million towards strengthening its regional disaster management capacity over the years. We are equally pleased to fully support the resolution adopted by consensus by this Council today on solidarity with and support for the people and government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. The resolution is a sincere expression of solidarity with all those affected by this ongoing disaster and a clear call to action for all of us to assist St. Vincent and its neighbors in this time of need. Thank you.
Thank you very much, delegates. Barbados is recognized. Ambassador Lynch, please, has the floor.
Good afternoon, Ambassador. As this is the first time that Barbados is taking the chair during this session, we want to offer you, Ambassador Ruiz Diaz, congratulations on assuming the presidency of the OAS and the Permanent Council Chair. We wish you only the best in your tenure. Equally as much, we want to thank Ambassador Maria del Carmen Roquebert of Panama for her distinguished service during the period that she served as chair and president of the Permanent Council. Madam Chair, the delegation of Barbados, as a co-sponsor of this resolution, fully supports the resolution adopted by acclamation this afternoon. And we stand in full solidarity with the government and people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines in light of the recent eruption of the La Soufriere volcano in that country. The destructive and disastrous eruptions and other seismic pyroclastic activity has also had disruptive effects on other countries in the region, including Grenada, St. Lucia, and of course, my own country, Barbados. As we speak, Barbados is in the midst of a national cleanup campaign. Thousands of our citizens are digging out from under, in some cases, up to 1 foot of accumulated volcanic ash that can cause danger to roofs, to the water supply, and to drains, particularly if there are periods of rainfall after the ash has fallen. For all, but mostly for the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, the issues associated with this disaster at this time and in this effort are particularly challenging and compounding, as this is an actively dangerous situation that combines the risk of an erupting volcano and COVID-19. The disaster and its resultant effects, however, have demonstrated in great measure the readiness and strength of the regional support machinery in CARICOM that was mobilized in short time and within limited warning periods. This machinery, in the form of the CARICOM Secretariat and other organs of the regional organization, the Seismic Research Center of the UWI, the Caribbean Disaster Emergency Agency, SEDEMA, and the Regional Security System, the RSS, have all given credence to the notion that there is a credible, effective, and reliable system in the region that all member states of the regional grouping can rely on in times of dire need. Concomitantly, the outreach by neighboring jurisdictions to open their borders and their doors to the almost 25,000 persons that have been displaced, even in the midst of their own difficult social and economic situations, compounded by the COVID-19 pandemic, demonstrates the harmonious accord of the regional grouping. The singleness of purpose and cohesion demonstrated can only work to strengthen the Caribbean community in the future. However, in the midst of this cooperation and coordination, what is clearly apparent is that this effort is not enough to stem the deleterious effects of this happening, which might continue for almost a year. The loss of livelihoods, access to adequate food and nutrition, health support, other social needs, security and protection, particularly for the most vulnerable groups in the society and the persons who will suffer directly, cannot be adequately addressed by the country itself or the disaster support network of the regional bodies. The combined efforts of all hemispheric countries in the Americas are critical at this time. The solidarity and support of the entire Americas system is also of critical import at this period. It is only through this mechanism and cooperation that the social and economic well-being of all the people of the Americas can be protected and advanced. A tragedy of this nature affects us all. The people of CARICOM come to this forum as demonstrated already in the midst of helping themselves. However, these efforts are not sufficient to deal with the scope and scale of the difficulties faced. CARICOM clearly seeks to help itself in the face of difficulties and disasters. In this vein, CARICOM leaders have already sought recommendations from a commission established to achieve sustainable growth in regional economies. One of these proposals of the commission is for the raising of regional bonds to finance climate resilience within CARICOM, a recommendation that might need a review in light of the St. Vincent and the Grenadines volcanic eruption. The commission's focus was centered on the risks posed to regional countries by climate change, including the frequency of violent storms and floods that cause severe and costly damage to infrastructure and other areas of the economy. The country of Dominica provided a model and apt case for the study of the commission, suffering debilitating hurricanes in 2011, 2015, and 2017. The cost to the island was hundreds of times the national output of the country. The fact is that the scale and frequency of these catastrophes and attendant costs are unsustainable for CARICOM economies. The danger is, however, not Dominica's alone. The Commission made it clear that the catastrophe risks at the level suffered by Dominica would be uninsurable at tolerable premiums. Notwithstanding, what was pointed out was that building resilience so as to leave a risk of between 2 and 20% of GDP would likely be both manageable and financeable through existing arrangements and novel schemes that could be designed for the purpose. To effectively achieve this, it would call for CARICOM countries to waterproof their economies, thus creating a climate of adaptability that puts regional homes and infrastructure in a position to substantially survive storms and floods. Although the Commission acknowledged that this effort would be expensive, it would be far less than if the region did nothing. The Commission also contemplated the establishment of safe spaces and other safeguards as part and parcel of the process of building resilience. It certainly appears that it was not within the contemplation of the Commission dangers such as those now experienced by St. Vincent and the Grenadines. If there is a need to permanently settle displaced persons, the government of the country, already in the midst of crippling economic crises, will face an additional fiscal burden. It is now clear in the face of this tragedy that the potential for awakened and disruptive volcanoes are not only for the ones better known in St. Vincent and Montserrat, but in other islands in the region. Whilst there have been no eruptions for many years, Dominica is the home of 9 volcanoes. Additionally, St. Kitts and Nevis has 2, St. Lucia has 1, Grenada has 1 on land and 2 in the neighboring sea. Most of these CARICOM members also have neighbors with volcanoes. Even Barbados has 1 offshore. In the north, Haiti has 1. Given the most recent events in St. Vincent, what happened in Montserrat, and the recent rumblings in Martinique, volcanoes may need to be brought to the center of CARICOM's discussion on resilience. And this is why this resolution being considered today is of such critical importance. The disaster relief plan assembled by the OAS and SEDIMA after La Soufrière began rumbling in December 2020 offers a workable template that can be expanded to the wider Caribbean region for future events. However, even the best plans need to be supported by quick and reliable access to equipment and trained personnel. This effort will require resources, both financial and human, which are not readily available to the countries of CARICOM. We need the committed, consistent support of the hemisphere to create the plan to create the multidimensional vulnerability index that we have voiced for decades. And at the IF, international financial institutions, we need new innovative financing mechanisms with natural disaster clauses. Finally, the OAS is critical to these processes. The credibility of this body, that this body has in convening international and hemispheric organizations is as well as financial and development institutions for speedy assistance when compared to individual jurisdiction calls cannot be disputed. We thank all the countries and the organizations that have already contributed to the efforts of assisting our brothers and sisters. We again make this call and encourage all member states of the OAS, as well as permanent observers, to mobilize all resources at your disposal to assist St. Vincent and the Grenadines and all other affected countries in light of this disaster. I thank you, Madam President. I'm obliged to you.
Gracias.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Lynch. Costa Rica. has the floor. Thank you very much, Madam Chairman. Your Excellency, Ambassador Gilchrist, and all civil servants of the mission of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, representatives. Madam Chairman, I would like to avail myself of this occasion on behalf of the member countries of SICA to congratulate you, Ambassador, and wish you the best of success during the term of chair of this permanent council, and also count on our full-fledged support for your success. We would like to express our deepest condolences and solidarity to the people and government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines in the face of the emergency situation that they are grappling with, given the rumblings of Soufriere, which happened on the 8th of April, and the country since then has been in an emergency mode. These volcanic eruptions put the country on level 4 of the emergency and has forced countries to flee to neighboring countries, Barbados, St. Lucia, Grenada, as was explained by our colleague ambassador. This emergency has damaged the physical infrastructure, has affected agricultural activities, and as far as we can see, we positively saw the adoption by acclamation the draft resolution presented by the member countries of CARICOM and co-sponsored by the regional group of SICA and other countries as a demonstration of regional solidarity and support for the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines and neighboring countries. We would like to underscore the work being carried out by SEDIMA alongside the local emergency management system and the regional security system, as well as all of the work done by this organization through the Inter-American Committee for Natural Disasters. We reiterate our appeal to pull together efforts to deal with this emergency and a quick recovery of the country. We hope to make progress on an agenda together that will strengthen all of the risk capacity and ability to deal with these risks, and will build capacity for resilience in the hemisphere in the face of natural disasters, which unfortunately are very often. Thank you very much, Madam Chairman. Thank you.
La delegación de Nicaragua. Embajador Alvarado, por favor.
Thank you very much, Chair. I am pleased to see you at the helm of the Permanent Council. My delegation would like to wish you the utmost success over your tenure. We would also like to state clearly that we will collaborate and seek to reach consensus amongst our delegations. I would also like to commend Ambassador Luan and her whole team for the efforts that they have made in the context of what's happening in their country. I would now like to read a message from the national government of Nicaragua, which was issued on April 9th, 2021. Your Excellency, Mr. Gonzalez, Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Dear Ralph, since yesterday, we have been following up on the emergency situation being faced by our sister republic, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, given the potential eruption of La Soufriere. Our solidarity is with you at this time and with your family, as well as with the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines as you face this serious threat.
Solidarity with the certainty that the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines will now have to overcome the challenges with your steadfast leadership and with the infinite grace of our Almighty God. Receive the profound affection of all the Nicaraguan families, our most sincere appreciation and respect Daniel Ortega Saavedra, President of Nicaraguan Republic, and Rosario Murillo, Vice President of the Nicaraguan Republic. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Ambassador. I now give the floor to the delegation of Mexico. Ambassador Baños, please. Chair, thank you very much. My delegation congratulates you on assuming the chair of the Permanent Council. We would like to thank Ambassador Roquebert as well for her leadership over the January to March period. We hail the fact that 2 women are holding this important position. Mexico would like to record that it co-sponsors this resolution. I tried to request the floor on time to do that, but it is a little tough to do things at the right time sometimes in the virtual world. I would just like to reflect that for the record. My country has a tradition of expressing solidarity with other countries when natural disasters strike. For that reason, we have a response prepared for St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and we express our most sincere solidarity with the people and government of this country. We issue an urgent call to action to provide support during this emergency. Thank you very much, Chair. And the interpreter has lost the chair.
Embajadora Ruiz Díaz, si puede solicitar.
Ambassador Ruiz Díaz, could you please request the floor again, says the technician Fernando. Chair, could you please request the floor again? I see that you're connected. Chair, you are muted. I don't know what's happening with the platform. I see the request list, I open it, and then I vanish from the screen. Anyway, I give the floor to the delegation of Dominica, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, as with the other delegations before us, we congratulate you on your chairmanship of the Permanent Council, and we also congratulate and thank Ambassador Roquebert for her chairmanship. Madam Chair, the Commonwealth of Dominica aligns itself fully to the statement delivered by our distinguished chair of the Caucus of CARICOM Ambassadors in Washington, D.C., His Excellency Anthony Philip Spencer, Permanent Representative of Trinidad and Tobago, on behalf of our region. However, given the strong bonds and solidarity that exists between the governments of St. Vincent and the Grenadines and the Commonwealth of Dominica, we take the floor to read into the record our expressions of concern and to pledge our support to our brothers and sisters who have been and are being affected by the recent spate of eruptions of La Soufrière in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Madam Chair, in public statements made by the Honorable Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit, he outlined the Commonwealth of Dominica's responses to humanitarian and familial support to the people and government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit has given his commitment, stating that we have a duty and an obligation to reach out to our brothers and sisters. We must not only talk about being our brothers and sisters, we must be our brothers and sisters in this circumstance. Madam Chair, please permit me to share some actions taken by the government of the Commonwealth of Dominica contained in a statement issued by the Honorable Roosevelt Skerrit on 12 April 2021. The government of the Commonwealth of Dominica has activated our emergency response team at the ministerial and technical levels in preparation to assist nationals of St. Vincent and the Grenadines during this very difficult and challenging period in our history, particularly as we strive to contain the COVID-19 pandemic and as we approach the beginning of the 2021 hurricane season. The government of the Commonwealth of Dominica stands ready to receive 300 nationals of St. Vincent and the Grenadines who will be housed in already allocated suitable accommodation for an initial period of up to 5 months. The government of the Commonwealth of Dominica is committed to absorb all costs related to this temporary relocation. The necessary emergency protocols have been finalized and relevant focal points in the Commonwealth of Dominica and in St. Vincent and the Grenadines will coordinate the logistics in the coming days to ensure a smooth process. We have in place measures which will ensure that the nationals of St. Vincent and the Grenadines are treated as family and will be afforded our usual and unique brand of Dominican hospitality. As is our history of collaboration in the Caribbean region, we always turn to each other and stand with each other in the most difficult crises. Recognizing that this difficult challenge, the government of the Commonwealth of Dominica has pledged for direct transfer the amount of $1 million East Caribbean dollars in humanitarian assistance to the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. The government of the Commonwealth of Dominica has provided an initial 16 pallets of bottled drinking water and is currently exploring, with the assistance of the OAS, Organization of East Caribbean States, the possibility of sending bulk water by barge to the people and government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Madam Chair, we are seized of the fact that all of this is occurring during the height of one of the worst public health crises that our world is currently experiencing, and particularly as the start of the 2021 hurricane season is a mere 2 months away. We understand the relative social economic impact and the challenges that this will most likely have on all our economy. Challenges we must face during this very dark and challenging period in our collective history. Madam Chair, the government of the Commonwealth of Dominica reiterates its solidarity with the people and government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and we stand committed to assist the good people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines in any way possible as they respond to this period of uncertainty. We also stand in solidarity with the neighboring islands of Barbados, Grenada, and St. Lucia, who are also affected by this disaster. Our thoughts and prayers are with the people and government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and we remain prayerful and hopeful for a very speedy recovery. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much, Delegate. I now give the floor to St. Lucia. Go ahead, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Please permit me to recognize you as the new chair of the Permanent Council and to offer you St. Lucia's support. On the outset, my delegation fully aligns with the statement delivered by the permanent representative of Trinidad and Tobago on behalf of CARICOM. My delegation thanks the permanent representative of St. Vincent and the Grenadines for the update provided and assure her of what she already knows. The government and people of St. Lucia stand in solidarity with the government and people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Chair, St. Lucia, like others, have mobilized to provide everything that we can in this time of need to our brothers and sisters in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Beyond the offering of housing and shelter for those displaced, our government is working through our National Emergency Management Agency and other entities to respond to the needs, among others, for food and water. We have also mobilized all our foreign missions in the effort to support the government and people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And I dare say that we are humbled by the interest and commitment by our diaspora to give all that they can to our friends, our family in St. Vincent. We are the smallest of the small in the hemisphere, but history has proven our collective resilience. Antigua and Barbuda, the Bahamas, Dominica, Grenada, and now St. Vincent and the Grenadines are some of the most glaring examples in our recent history of the impact of nature's wrath. St. Vincent and the Grenadines will recover as others will. Note, I did not say have, as the effects of the catastrophic events for us take longer than most to recover from. And in the case of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, we are still not out of danger. But they will persevere, battered and scarred, as we will be, as we always are, when we as the Caribbean go through these traumatic times. We have been and will be the first to respond to those in the OAS and CARICOM region. We will cry on each other's shoulders as families do during trying times, and we will dig deep, mining our meager resources, recognizing that without each other, we are often alone. Chair, COVID-19 undoubtedly will make our efforts to support St. Vincent and the Grenadines more difficult, as does a framework that continues to deny us the tools needed to rebuild and, in fact, prepare for instances like this. I close with the following, Chair. To all those outside of our OAS and CARICOM community who have stepped up to support St. Vincent and the Grenadines, we say thank you. The record shows and will show who you are, and as a CARICOM family, we are grateful. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Delegate. I give the floor to the Secretary General, Luis Almagro. Please go ahead. Chair, thank you.
Good afternoon. We are deeply saddened by the tragedy unfolded in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. I begin by offering heartfelt sympathy to the government and people of the country at this difficult time, as well as nearby Barbados, St. Lucia, and other countries affected, that are now also suffering from the effects of the recent eruption of the La Soufrière volcano. Fortunately, trying times like this often also bring out our true humanity and an enhanced display of unity. The La Soufrière eruption has resulted in the displacement of approximately 20,000 people, near 1/5 of the island residents. Many have already lost their homes. While early reports suggest that infrastructure damage might be limited, the country is expected to face significant impacts on its agricultural sector. The crisis coming amid a pandemic poses an even more significant challenge for this small, highly vulnerable island nation, as it positioned itself to meet the immediate humanitarian needs of its displaced citizens. It must also continue taking measures to curb the pandemic's spread. In the medium to long term, the negative impact of COVID-19 on crucial economic sectors, such as travel tourism are likely to be even further exacerbated by this volcanic eruption. The country must also prepare for what is predicted to be another highly active hurricane season, which commences in a mere 6 weeks. As the people and government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines work to manage this complex crisis and plan for the country's recovery, I applaud the adoption of the resolution on solidarity with and support for the people and government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. In today's meeting of the Permanent Council, which will expand access to the critical financial and other resources they will need, I take this opportunity to recognize and commend our member states have taken action to support their neighbor. I also welcome the broader regional effort led by Caribbean community through its institutions such as the Seismic Research Center or the University of the West Indies and the Caribbean Disaster Emergency Management Agency, which are working with the National Emergency Management Organization of St. Vincent and the Grenadines and the regional security system. The challenges posed by this crisis in St. Vincent and the Grenadines will overwhelm the capacity of any government acting alone as such. This is a moment which requires the collective action of the entire Inter-American family as well as multi-sectoral partners. The OAS has historically placed a strong emphasis on building the resilience of our member states. However, as this crisis highlights, there is much more work that needs to be done. In keeping with our commitment to this ongoing effort, I am pleased to inform you that the General Secretariat will mobilize usual resources from the Fontaine in relief aid that will be immediately made available. We will also strengthen the coordination of mechanisms within the Executive Secretariat for Integral Development and Disaster Response and examine how we may best utilize existing initiatives to support the resilience of critical sectors as tourism, as well as micro, small, and medium enterprises. As we work diligently to address the unprecedented challenges of the pandemic and natural disasters such as this volcanic eruption, which threaten our sister nation of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and strive to deliver inclusive and sustainable development for the citizens of our region, we must hold fast to our founding principle of cooperación solidaria, recognizing our shared responsibility for the development and security of each member state. As a hemispheric body, we stand in solidarity with the government and people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines and ready to facilitate any action needed to aid its recovery from this most devastating event. Definitivamente nos vamos a ocupar y nos vamos.
We will, without a doubt, make a commitment to working with potential donors in the public and private sector, with international financial institutions, and more, to ensure that new additional financial resources are at the disposal of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. We will make sure that the best technological capabilities are at your disposal. We will make sure that this will be overcome soon and that the solutions provided can reach all of those people who have suffered from this tragedy. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Secretary General. I now give the floor to the delegation of Trinidad and Tobago. Ambassador Philip Spencer, please.
Good afternoon, Chair. I take the floor on this occasion in my right, speaking on behalf of the delegation of Trinidad and Tobago, to join with others in congratulating you, welcoming you, and assuring you of the commitment of this delegation during your tenure, and of course, expressing our appreciation to our former chair, Ambassador Rocabel of Panama. Chair, Excellencies, the delegation of Trinidad and Tobago joins with all member states in reiterating our solidarity with and support for the people and government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, as well as the neighboring islands of Barbados, St. Lucia, and Grenada, which are all still experiencing the negative, disruptive effects of the eruptions of La Soufrière volcano. Now, we call on all OAS member states, permanent observers, and all institutions in the Inter-American system to act together to implement the resolution that we have adopted today, grateful as we are for its adoption by acclamation. Chair, the government of Trinidad and Tobago immediately responded to assist our brothers and sisters in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Following the order given by the Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Dr. the Honorable Ralph Gonzalez, on April 8, 2021, to evacuate the immediate area around the volcano, Dr. the Honorable Keith Rowley, Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago and Chair of CARICOM, himself a volcanologist, welcomed immediately the offer of emergency accommodation extended by other CARICOM member states to dislocated persons from St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Additionally, on April 13, 50 members of the Trinidad and Tobago Defense Force arrived in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, along with representatives of the Trinidad and Tobago Red Cross Society, the Caribbean Public Health Agency, to provide humanitarian and relief assistance to the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Relief items collected by our Office of Disaster Preparedness and Management, such as, were also transported to the island. Chair, Trinidad and Tobago will continue to monitor the situation in St. Vincent and the Grenadines and remains ready and steadfast in our commitment to provide the support that is needed by our brothers and sisters in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. I thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Ambassador Philip Spencer. I give the floor to the delegation of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Ambassador Gilchrist, please.
Thank you, Chair. Please allow me just one moment. Chair, thank you. The Permanent Mission of St. Vincent and the Grenadines acknowledges and appreciates the sentiments expressed by His Excellency Luis Almagro, Secretary General. My delegation thanks the coordinator of the CARICOM Group of Ambassadors at the Organization of American States, His Excellency Anthony Phillips Spencer, for leading on the recently adopted resolution and for proposing it. We also thank Her Excellency, the Permanent Representative of Costa Rica, for requesting its adoption by consensus. Our gratitude is extended to member states for co-sponsoring the draft resolution and to the Permanent Council for adopting the resolution, solidarity with and support for the people and government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. It is indeed evidence of the ties that bind us all and which should not be severed as we navigate the perilous circumstances which we face in this multi-hazard hemisphere. We are stronger together. Chair, I would like to quote from a message shared with me by a Vincentian volunteer on the ground in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. I quote, "I think today, for the first time, I saw the fatigue on some of the faces of the displaced people. It's brought home when you look at the list of people registering to be evacuated to another country, even if temporarily, and some of the names are of people you know personally. No longer something abstract. The people are uprooted, untethered from all they know. That is the wear I think I now see. It is worn on their faces, not like a mask that can be removed, but as if they bear a mark burnt and branded on their faces. From a philosophical point of view, I don't think that people generally mind a journey, even if it is meant to be arduous and long, providing they can envisage a destination worth the sacrifice of the journey. Despondency sets in when one is not sure that destination exists. That is when one's feet become heavy and weary, when even one step in an uncertain direction becomes too much to bear. End of message. Chair, the Permanent Mission of St. Vincent and the Grenadines thanks member states for their expressions of solidarity and for the tangible assistance being provided by their governments. Given the compounding factors of the COVID-19 situation, we reiterate here our unstinting support for the call for the equitable distribution of COVID-19 vaccines made in CPRES 1165, which was adopted by the Permanent Council on February 17, 2021, spearheaded by the Permanent Representative of Antigua and Barbuda, His Excellency Sir Ronald Sanders. Chair, the Permanent Mission of St. Vincent and the Grenadines reiterates its gratitude to the Permanent Council, the governments of member states, and the diaspora for their support. Our gratitude is extended to the Secretary General for the assurance of support to be provided through the mechanisms of the Organization of American States and through its facilitative role. Chair, in closing, I thank the staff at the Permanent Mission for their work and dedication here, even as they are themselves anxious for the safety and security of their families and friends on the ground in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. Thank you very much. And as we have seen with our approval by the Permanent Council of this resolution, following the order of business, the next item is consideration of the recommendation of the Committee on Inter-American Summits Management and Civil Society Participation in OAS activities to the Permanent Council regarding the request of 11 civil society organizations to participate in the activities of the organizations in keeping with the request put by the chair of the committee through note CP in 8921/21. The United States has the floor as chair of the committee.
Mr. Herney, we cannot hear you, we cannot see you.
Hold on. Okay. Hi, thank you very much. Mr. Fredden could not stay for the rest of the meeting, so I had to, so I'm going to fill in for him. I'd just like to say that in our capacity as the chair of the Committee on the Inter-American Summits Management and Civil Society Participation in the OAS activities, and in compliance with Article 32 of the Rules of Procedure of the Permanent Council, I'm pleased to present the report of CP/CISC-1002/21, titled The Recommendation of the Committee of Inter-American Summits Management and Civil Society Participation in OAS Activities to the Permanent Council regarding the request of 11 civil society organizations to participate in the activities of the organization. On this subject, the report of the CICS, distributed as the document I just mentioned, details the activities carried out by the committee in accordance with Article 22 of the Rules of Procedure of the Permanent Council and in compliance with the mandates assigned by the General Assembly in Resolutions 2948 and 2949 of the year 2020. At the meeting of the committee held on March 9th and April 6th, 2021, the CISC, after listening to the report of the Relations of Civil Society section of the Secretary for Access to Rights and Equality and Equity, pursuant to the provisions contained in the resolution, decided to recommend to the Permanent Council to approve and accept the participation of the following 11 civil society organizations and the activities of the organization. I think that they are listed, but I could also, I could read them into the record. I'm not sure if that's necessary. But in any case, we present to the plenary the 11 applications and recommend their approval. So in the interest of time, I'd like to simply thank the delegations and General Secretariat for their support in enabling us to fulfill the tasks entrusted to us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. As there are no comments, the chair would like to suggest to the Permanent Council to accept the recommendation made by the Civil Society Organization to be part of the activities of the organization, document CP CIS 1002/21, and approve the participation of the 11 organizations from civil society as listed. We would like to instruct the General Secretariat of those organizations to duly be registered or recorded with the OAS. I suggest that we move along that line. As there are no objections, it is so agreed. The next item on our agenda is attention to the request made by the Chair of the Commission for Hemisphere Securities. I should like to put before you for your consideration of the Permanent Council draft resolution placed on date on the 6th meeting of national authorities on trafficking in persons, convened by resolution AG Res 2950 in document CP 5690/21, and the draft resolution entitled Date of the First Meeting of the Subsidiary Technical Group on Emergency Services and Security in the MISPA process, convened by resolution AG Res 2950, contained in document CP Doc 5691/21. This request from the Hemispheric Group is put before you for your consideration. As there are no objections then, or any requests for the floor, both drafts are so agreed, adopted. Item 6, approval of the minutes of the Permanent Council. In this regard, I should like to put before you for your consideration the following minutes of the Permanent Council. Minutes 274 of the regular meeting of the 6th of February 2020, minutes 2276 of the regular meeting of the 19th of February 2020, minutes 2277 of the regular meeting of the 4th of March 2020, minutes 2278 of the regular meeting of the 12th March 2020 meeting, 2281 of the special session of the 24th of April 2020, and 2283 of the special session held on the 14th of May 2020, 2288 of the joint session with CD on the 17th of June 2020. That was 2278. Special session corrects the interpreter. I put before you for your consideration the aforementioned. As there are no objections or any requests for the floor, the minutes aforementioned adopted. Item 7, other business. My dear colleagues, we have rounded off our agenda for today's meeting. And before I give the floor to delegations who might like to bring before this council any other informative business under other business, I would like to mention that with the support of the General Secretariat, we will be moving ahead with consultations with each and every one of the delegations, possibly through a survey with a view to hearing the opinion, availability of delegations to go back to meetings face to face. This is, of course, subject to the health regulations of federal governments and local governments and any other provisions that are appropriate to be borne in mind. In the next few days, we will send off more information in this regard. I'd like the council to be fully aware that the decision will be taken unanimously by all delegations. Having said that, I should like to give the floor to delegations. The floor is open. Canada has the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to take this opportunity to express our deep sadness at the passing of His Royal Highness the Prince Philip, Duke of Edinburgh on April 9th, and to honor his life and legacy. Throughout his long life of 99 years, His Royal Highness devoted himself to the people of the Commonwealth and of Canada. He valued community, duty, and service. He believed in wildlife conservation, volunteerism, and supporting young people. As Prime Minister Justin Trudeau expressed last Friday, Prince Philip was, and I quote, a man of great service to others, first as a decorated naval officer and later as a dedicated leader in the areas of community engagement and philanthropy. The Duke always sought out the best in people and challenged them to strive for greater heights. Prince Philip maintained a special relationship with the Canadian Armed Forces and over the years became Colonel-in-Chief of 6 Canadian units. In 2011, he was named Honorary General of the Canadian Army and the Royal Canadian Air Force, as well as Honorary Admiral of the Royal Canadian Navy. The global program that bears his title, the Duke of Edinburgh's Award, has helped empower millions of young people from all backgrounds to realize the greatest potential, and is but one example of his contributions to the social fabric of this country and the world. Prince Philip was a man of great purpose and conviction who was motivated by a sense of duty to others. He will be fondly remembered as a constant in the life of our Queen, a lifelong companion who was always at her side, offering unfailing support as she carried out her duties. End quote. Today, we join our Commonwealth partners and others around the world in mourning His Royal Highness. The thought of Canadians are with Her Majesty, the Queen, and the members of the royal family during these difficult times. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. The chair of this council would like to ask the Secretariat to take due note of the condolences on behalf of this permanent council. Thank you very much to everyone. Nicaragua has asked for the floor. Nicaragua, Ambassador Alvarado.
Muchas gracias, señor.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairman. Very quickly, because it's already very late. Nicaragua wanted to bring to the attention of distinguished delegations Mr. Bolowski, the Secretary for National Policy in the President's Cabinet. The passing of Dr. Bolowski has left a big gap. We recognize his arduous work over the course of time, and all of the efforts and work in international fora, particularly in climate change. That was one of his special areas, but he also was a specialist in many other topics for policies in the region. So we express our sentiments and condolences to the family for this loss. We would also like to echo the words of Canada, given the loss of the Duke of Edinburgh, Prince Philip. And we would like to avail ourselves of this moment and offer our condolences to the royal family in the UK. Also, we would like to recognize the passing of the distinguished Mr. Ramsey Clark, who left us a few days ago and who was a very close friend of Nicaragua, and we would like to express our condolences to the family in solidarity. Thank you very much, Madam Chairman. Microphone, please, for the speaker. I'm so sorry about that, says the speaker. I'm so sorry. Very well. As there are no further requests for the floor, we would like to thank everyone for their participation and in support of the Secretariat. We'd like to thank the interpreters and apologize if I left the script for a bit. I'm doing my level best, but please try to understand me from your homemade booth, and that's the way it is. So with that, the meeting is adjourned, and thank you very much.